Hi gang, welcome to week 2, module 2 of Achiever Formula, and I am so pumped, I'm so excited to show you what a life changer, what a business changer this little board is. So we're going to go into detail. There's a lot to cover this week. We're going to take it one step at a time, and each video is going to explain a different part of this board that you see behind me. Very excited to bring you the absolute latest updates too in terms of managing this Kanban process. But first of all, what I want to take you through is the theory of why all this stuff works. And the most important thing is to understand is why isn't the things that we're doing, why don't to-do lists stick for us? Why don't cool software programs and to-do lists and OmniFocus and getting things done and all of those things stick? Why not? Well, this is the fascinating part. The answer came from my study last year, and it was the collision of two awesome things. Very disparate, but that's where interesting stuff happens. So when I looked at the Kolbe profiles of our beta participants, and I looked at their and spoke and surveyed and interviewed and talked with their ability to actually go and look at to-do lists, look at their software, see what they're doing, check in on their list, see how they're going, check things off even. The correlation was unbelievable. Somebody with a low follow-through, sort of 5 under on a Kolbe index, just would never look at their to-do lists. They'd create them, no problem. They'd feed in the stuff, they'd go on an OmniFocus or a getting things done, whiz, but it wouldn't work. Because people with low follow-through scores, and if you are one of the people, because there is a category of entrepreneur that has high follow-through. Some of what I'm about to say may seem like Swahili to you, like it'll be literally slack-jawing that you can't understand how people actually operate. It's okay, there's plenty in this process for you. But for the majority, and we're already seeing on the Facebook group, the majority of people are in that lower follow-through category. And that's why what you see behind me, the Kanban process, is so revolutionary. So, what are the fundamentals here that we're talking about? First, we need to understand that the process of work is not binary in the sense of, it'd be nice, wouldn't it, to have a to-do list and just go and check things off, right? It makes total sense. But you're doing that in isolation of everything else that's going on in your life. You're creating artificial boundaries between, work-life balance. There's no work-life balance. Right? You do stuff. You have certain hours in a day to do stuff. And as we discussed in last module, you have a limited amount of willpower and a limited amount of energy in terms of doing things that you need to do on top of all the normal stuff that you're doing. And as we know, your brain doesn't discriminate. You have to make a decision about what to make the kids' school lunch. That's the same impact as making a decision about whether to buy something or whether to deal with this supplier or that supplier. It's the same processes that are occurring in your brain. So the first thing you need to think about when you're looking at this, and I think you'll understand the feeling when I describe it, is, there's a couple of great stories, and when Hannah, my eldest daughter now, she's 14 and a half, when she was little, I used to tell her that I was the greatest juggler in the world. And she would be one, and she'd be laying there, and I'd be going, check out Daddy, the world's greatest juggler. And I'd be throwing one ball from one hand to the other, right? And then I'd say, and now I'm going to do the super cool, wait for this, 2. I'm going to do 2 balls. And she'd clap, and she'd smile, and she'd think I was the best thing. And I'd go, throw the ball, catch, throw the ball, catch. Now, what you and I know, which she didn't because she was very little, was of course people who actually can juggle. You wouldn't even call yourself a juggler until you can juggle 3 balls. So, but if somebody threw even another ball into that mix, all the balls would drop. You know, and even a good juggler, right? Somebody who's really good might have, you know, be juggling 3 balls, but then you throw in the 4th ball. Only an incredible juggler that has practiced a lot will get 4. Maybe they can do 5. Maybe they can do 6. I don't know what the world record is for juggling, but of all the people who have attempted juggling, 0.00001% have hit that world record number of items juggled at one particular time. The metaphor is this. If you're doing things and you're trying to work on various projects, various things, and remember, I don't discriminate. You know, at the end of the day, you have to do something. You have to take an action. You have to, there's a chemical reaction that goes on in your head, and you have to make a decision. You have to expend caloric energy to make that decision, which in turn draws down that willpower fuel tank that all of us have. And as I said, that doesn't matter whether it's business, whether it's life, whether it's hobby, whether it's anything, right? That's happening. So here's the thing that happens, right? You're motoring along and you're doing your capacity of 2 juggling, and somebody throws something into the mix. What happens? All the balls get dropped. How often have you been working on the edge and there's just one little thing that somebody says, oh, can you just do this? And the whole thing falls apart. And for a lot of you who are working 9 to 5 or you are one-person bands, that's it for the week. You're blown up, right? And you're on to whatever thing or crisis or work thing or whatever came in and interrupted you. And it's horrible. Another great analogy with Jim Benson, who the author, and by the way, I should show you this. This book, Personal Kanban, a lot of the stuff that you'll hear today generated from this book, Personal Kanban, by Jim Benson and Torianne DeMaria Barry. What a name. Torianne DeMaria Barry. Now, Jim and Tori... Now, what I'm teaching you today, though, is an update on what's here. This is still a brilliant book, and I would totally encourage... It was my run-up for Book of the Year last year, but I would really encourage you to look at that. So one of the ways that Jim explained it in the book was he used to be a traffic engineer, and if you know a freeway is at its most efficient if it gets to about 60% of capacity. Any more capacity than that, everything starts to slow down. And if a freeway gets to 100% capacity, you know what happens then? Boom, right? It's bad news. It's standstill. It's accidents, right? The same thing happens with your work life. So what we've got to figure out is flow. We've got to understand that forward progress, making forward progress with everything else that's going on is important. Now, you're probably there thinking, Ed, geez, wow, that's an insight. We have to make progress on our particular projects and what we want to do. But this is where it's all fallen down, right? As it turns out, this incredible collision between Colby and Personal Kanban reveals the answers. So we need to get flow. Now I'm going to introduce you to the first rule of Kanban in this series, and that is it must be visual. So join us in the next video and we'll talk about that.